Nothing on the Bonnell Foundation's Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast should be considered medical advice. Medical advice can only come from your CF physician. Cystic fibrosis can be a devastating diagnosis, but living with the disease can bring positivity and a new appreciation for each day. From the Bonnell Foundation in Detroit, Michigan, it's the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast, sponsored by Viatris, Genentech, and Vertex. Here's your host, Laura Bonnell.
This is a love story about two people passionate about entertainment, writing, and each other. In 2016, Clement, or Clem Souyri, moved from France. He is a lawyer who specializes in entertainment law. His career path landed him in the orbit of Travis Flores. This is after Clem went and got his master's degree. Travis is a screenwriter and a children's book author, and he has cystic fibrosis. Travis Flores is living because of his third double lung transplant. Travis and Clem have been together for 6 years now and continue to face new challenges, but as they say, they are in this together, and Travis is in the end stage of renal disease. Travis could not join us on the podcast because he is hospitalized, but Clem tells us about their life together and what it is like being a caregiver. Clem, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. We're sorry that Travis couldn't join us, but you'll tell us in a little bit how he's doing. First of all, kind of take us on your journey, how the two of you met. Tell us a little bit about your love story of how you two found each other.
It started online on Instagram. Billy shot me a message and we agreed to meet, like dating kind of. So we met, and Travis had already had his first transplant at the time. And he was in rejection. Flat out, he told me that, he needed another donor and had another operation. So as a first date, it was really heavy. And I told him straight out, hey, you probably don't need a boyfriend right now. You probably need a nurse or a doctor. But I don't think we were ready at the time to start something serious right there. But, here and there, I was popping out and I was asking him about updates, like how I was doing, and just like a caring friend, And at some point, I think he posted something on his socials and I saw him very thin. I saw him very struggling, and he was admitted in the ER that day. And I think his mom asked him, hey, you're in the ER, you're not very well at all. I don't want to be the one bearing the bad news or whatnot, but you have to inform your community that something's up. So that's what he did, and posted that photo, and he looked very sick. And I asked him, hey, where are you? And he said, well, it's on the post where I am. I'm in the ER right now. And I said, no, where are you in the ER? Because I'm there. So I showed up in the ER, of course, and he told me his room number and started getting to know him much better at this point. Passed a couple of months, and now he has had his second lung transplant. And it was the very beginning of our relationship. And it was in 2017. And, we've been together since then.
Is that a hard decision to make after what you learned and how you initially felt? Not only do you find out someone has cystic fibrosis, but he's already gone through one transplant when you met him. There were so many health concerns. What was your thought process going forward with the relationship? And is that even a fair question to ask? I mean, once you're committed to somebody.
Well, I really thought that after a transplant, you basically would be cured from cystic fibrosis. So I really was like, okay, if we pass the transplant, we're in a good zone here, and it's like dating a normal person. Well, I was not right, but I was fooled that way, in a good way, because otherwise I don't think I would have been on that boat, to be honest, because it's like knowing everything you have to go through. It's really hard. It's really challenging. And when you come from the outside, it's a lot to carry and to accept. But, the way we got to know each other and the way our dynamic works, I don't regret at all. Otherwise, it's one of the best things that happened to me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Did you know anything about cystic fibrosis before you met Travis?
So, yes, actually, as a baby, I was struggling breathing. I had asthma and whatnot. And my mother always told me that I had to do a sweat test. And my mom is a nurse, so she perfectly knew what a sweat test is and what a sweat test mean. For a lot of parents, it's like still like triggering anxiety, because you can detect if somebody has cystic fibrosis in their sweat for some reason. Thank God I did not have cystic fibrosis. I just had asthma. But as a nurse, my mom was really like, oh God, I don't want to do that test at all. So I knew about cystic fibrosis through my mom, who's a nurse, and also through like different outlets. There were kind of a TV show as well, like The Voice, where a guy on there had cystic fibrosis. He was singing like extremely well, and he won the competition. And that was in the early 2000s. So I knew about cystic fibrosis through that personality as well. He's a French, I'm originally from France, so it's a French reality show. So I don't think anyone would know that here. But that was also something that introduced me to cystic fibrosis in a very real way, because that person fortunately passed away like a couple of years after winning that competition. It's been a big deal and a big awareness outlet for cystic fibrosis as well.
Why don't you update us on Travis? As I said in the introduction, he's an end-stage renal disease. Tell us how he is doing now, where he is, why he's not on the podcast with us.
Right. So thanks for asking for some updates here. So Travis went through not one, not two, but three double lung transplants. So we're at the third lung transplant. So everything is good transplant-wise, meaning that he's not in rejection. So that's a good thing, but it's to the price of his kidneys, because as many of you know, when you receive an organ from a donor, it's not yours. So basically your immune system tries to attack it. It's a natural reaction to a foreign body in your body. So you have to take some anti-rejection meds. And those anti-rejection meds are really hard on everything that it goes through, meaning your digestive systems and your kidneys. So having had 3 double lung transplants, you can imagine the amount of anti-rejection meds he's having right now to keep those third lungs, because I don't think there's going to be a fourth chance of transplanting him. So he's under a lot of anti-rejection medication, which are really hard on his kidneys. So he's in end-stage renal disease now. He's doing dialysis 3 times a week for 3-4 hours at a time. So it's like a working schedule. When you get to it, it's okay to manage. And right now he's having a minor infection in his lungs. So the doctors are trying to put him on different antibiotics just not to build a resistance to it. So that's why he's in the hospital right now, just to fight an infection and to monitor his kidney's health. And down the line, we're hoping to have a kidney transplant in the coming year.
And it's so much for him to go through physically, mentally, right? But as a caregiver, I also know how much it is for you. So how do you manage it? You're a full-time attorney. How do you manage your career and caring for your partner?
Right. Well, I mean, I have the luxury to do my own schedule. So when there's time that I need to be there, I can take that time off, or I can take my iPad or computer and work on his bedside. But otherwise, Travis is very good at managing his own health and, taking his meds. I drive him back and forth from dialysis though, because I know it's very demanding. But, when he's here, we can cook together. We can do a lot of things together. And, he's working as his own rhythm as well. Working on the book right now, working on scripts, because Travis is a writer. So that's also a job that he can do at his own pace. So we're really fortunate in not having 9-to-5 jobs per se, and being able to manage our schedules around his health.
Still, it has to mentally be a lot. Did you ever feel overwhelmed, even though, of course, you would do anything for him? But I mean, I feel the same way with my daughters. Of course, I would do anything for them, but sometimes it's just so much, and it's so sad that I have to watch them go through it, and I can only do so much. So I just wonder, how do you feel, 3 transplants in and everything that he's still dealing with?
Right. I mean, as a caregiver, in a way, you'll understand that sometimes you feel like helpless and powerless, and it's really affecting you in a way. Like, it's always, oh, I can't do that. Like, if I could, like, give my veins so they don't have to roll out every time you're doing an IV, or if I could give you just one day of my health, just giving you one day of break, and I can carry your disease just for one day to give you a break. You really feel, powerless and helpless, and really affects you morally. But then you have to shift your focus on, instead of what you cannot do to help them, to what you can do to help them. And in that aspect, just being around him and supporting him and understanding his needs. That's where I find comfort. And for the little things that I can do, I'm really happy to do them, because it also relieves me from that passive attitude and that almost depressing sense of being powerless.
And that's wonderful, all that you just shared, because everyone else can also relate to what you're saying. How is Travis doing mentally? How does he, keep his spirits uplifted as he's going through all of this?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that he has an uplifting attitude towards it. And I really incite him to share that on social media, because there's a lot of people that are looking up to him as a big brother in a way, or somebody that goes through a lot and keep doing it. And I think it gives a lot of hope to a lot of people. So I really encourage him to show that aspect, but it's not real life in a way that you only select the things you want to share. For the whole rest of it, this is something that is at home. There's days he stays in bed because the pain is there, because he just don't want it. Or sometimes I go to the hospital and, give him a hug, give him a kiss, and I can feel his body being weak and thin. You can feel his bones right under the skin. I'm like, oh, this is not a good day. This is not a good situation. We are here. But I also try to keep it for me sometimes, when he's asking, hey, how do I look? I say, I always look great. I don't know what you're talking about. When I can see sometimes, it's really getting to him. I mean, he really tries his best to share good moments, but sometimes, it gets to him and he shares bad moments. And I think we all can relate to that. It's really human. You cannot have only good days.
I think that's really true and important to say. And, I met him once, and I think it was at a CFRI concert in California, where you are. And he was waiting for one of his transplants. It was either his second or his third when I met him. Maybe it was his second. But he was really thin, on oxygen. But like you said, great attitude, wanted to just be present. And it was wonderful to meet him.
Right. I think I remember that event. Didn't he wear a back brace at the time because he just got hit by a car or something? Yeah. You see, there's always something happening there. And I think he was waiting for his third transplant, and he just got into a car accident just before being evaluated for all that. So until his back was healed, they didn't want to touch him or evaluate him for getting a third transplant. But like all those things, he tries to joke about it. But the real struggle, you have it when we get home and we close the door, and then, he just like falls on like in your arms and say, "Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, this is too much. One more thing to do, one more thing to battle." Like, for instance, here he had the immense chance to have a third transplant, which is something that I don't even know how we got there, but he got the chance to have a team of doctors that agreed to give him a third chance when we know how rare it is to only have an organ like lungs. So he got that chance, and still it's not working, but he's not living his best life yet. He's caught up by renal problems now. It's getting to him. And of course, I mean, who wouldn't be down by all that? Like, you fix one problem, or you live your whole life managing one problem, which is mostly lungs and like breathing and digestive problems. And then you're hit by something new. You're hit by diabetes. You're hit by renal failure. You're hit by osteoporosis because your anti-rejection medication, which are steroids sometimes, it decays your bones and your teeth, and you have to go through all that. And the renal disease causes hair loss. So it's like always something coming up. And, as he told me many times, he said, my lungs, I can manage that. I've managed that for so long. I know my body so well. I know my lungs so well. All those other things that happen to me, I can't control that. And that's exactly what gets to me. Because from a very young age, I've been used to my lung problems, my digestive problems, taking my enzymes and so on. But all those new things that he has to learn, that's really what's getting to him. And, I was talking about hair loss, teeth decay, dialysis. He had appendicitis. All of that is, I think, really getting, and it's really the problem for him, I believe.
And in all of this, it really seems like he does inspire you. In all that he's going through, he keeps on fighting, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is very admirable. I think he's a superhero in that way. Like, you can throw stuff at him and he will endure. It's really amazing how the human body can be resilient, and his is really something. Like, we can talk about how problematic his body is, but his mental and his body's ability to take in pain is really admirable.
When he's not in pain and going through all this, although I know there's so much of it now, as you've been saying, do you get out and do things? Are you able to enjoy just an average day?
Yes. So average day enjoying right now is, being on a couch and watching a good movie, or, going to see a movie. Or last year we went to New York and we went to see all the Broadways we could. Like, it was one Broadway every night for a week. So, that's something we try to do. But right now, honestly, with dialysis and all that, as I told you, a good day is a day with no complaint and just, we can watch a movie together. Because I think he's also, and I don't think we talk about that enough, but I think he really has the anxiety and the capability of enjoying his life like a normal person. Because just by, living his day, he's still hit by stuff. He's still hit by right now an infection, and not pushing, not, going to a mall or just like walking by the beach or stuff like that. I think there's a lot of guilt, and he just wants so much to have a break from all that I think he restricts his activity to something very safe. And I think there's a lot of anxiety also from the chronic disease community with gatherings, and with COVID, there were a lot of restriction in place and all that. And I think it really hits the chronic illness community, because now there's that anxiety, that fear of getting something that will put you in the hospital for 2 weeks, whether it's COVID or cold or something else. I think there's a lot of anxiety that our loved one have going out in public places.
Is he on a kidney transplant list? Like, is that even an option for him?
So we wished he would have had his transplant while he was getting his third lung transplant. There were a donor that was a match for him for his lungs. So it would have been logical to take the kidneys from the same donor. Unfortunately or fortunately, he was not in renal failure at the time. So we could not have benefited from that renal transplant during that time he got his third lung transplant. So now he's, doing what every renal patient is doing, which is dialysis a few times a week. And he's good for evaluation this July. So we're going to meet the doctors. We're going to, have a little talk about, what it is to being transplanted for kidney. And we're probably going to have a timeline of what it is. Can he have like a living donor? How long is it to have a deceased donor? So we'll know all that this July. I really don't believe that he will be seriously considered to receive a kidney transplant, but at least it's going to give us some perspective on what to expect from that aspect. Being in the hospital for so long and so often for the last year has really diminished his chances for seriously being evaluated for transplant this July. But at least from that appointment, we will have a timeline and what are the criteria to qualify him for a transplant. Because that's another thing, for having a transplant, you have to be sick enough for needing that organ, but you have to be healthy enough to give that organ the best chance of, survival in your body. So it's really a weird zone you have to be in to qualify for transplant, whatever the transplanted organ is.
Are you scared? I mean, you must be worried. Like, what are your thoughts as you come up to this, decision time?
Well, honestly, I've never been afraid from him going into any sort of procedure. It's strange. Maybe it's denial, but I've always been, it's just, procedure. They just, crack your body up and just replace your lungs or, and honestly, that would probably terrify me if it happened to me. But for some reason, if it happens to Travis, I'm like, that guy knows so well. His body is invincible. And I'm sure it's denial, but I'm never scared of him going under any sort of procedure. And I think weirdly, it helps him also believing in himself when I don't question whether that procedure is dangerous or not, or when I don't question his chances of success. It's never something that crosses my mind. I'm like, I trust the team, I meet them like every month or so. And I know Travis. I know that he's doing it well. And I mean, would that happen to any other person? I probably would be scared. But for some weird reason, it happens to Travis. And I'm like, hey, he's going to be fine. It can only be better. It's so strange.
I do understand what you're saying, but his mother must love and adore you and be so happy that Travis has you as support. And of course, I'm sure she's there as well, but you're a family, obviously. Great
yes.
for her.
And they have a great relationship together. I think it's conflictual sometimes, but with every parent, I think it's the same. When they're here too much or here not enough, it's always problematic. And his mom lives in Ohio, so it's really hard for her to be there. But for every aspect of his life, when it's administrative work, I have to deal with your insurance and whatnot. It's like, oh, okay, that's going to be mom. That's not going to be me. That's not going to be Travis. Mom will deal with that, and they have a really strong bond together that is so special. She knows him better than I do. And she's been his support his entire childhood, going through doctor's appointment, going through, the scares and, not disclosing anything because I think it's public, but his mom has had cancer. She has some like skin cancer as well. So, they really have a strong relationship, and she also trusts me, and I have a great relationship with her as well. And I update her on what's going on his health and all that. So I think she also is happy in a way that Travis found me and we found each other, because I really feel like she believes that I gave her a break in some ways, and she can, let Travis live his life with me, knowing that he's going to be well taken care of and I'm going to be there for him instead of her.
And what are your hopes for the future, for the two of you, for yourself? What are your dreams going forward?
Well, that's big. Right now it's hard to see past 1 year. We're even making plans to travel. It's complicated because, you have dialysis to go to. So you have to fly domestic to see if a dialysis center can take care of you while you're in vacation. And do you really want to take vacation when you have to, go 3 times a week to a dialysis center? It's like all the plans are a little suspended here. But yeah, if the minute, we can take a vacation, that's going to be our goal, traveling. I'm originally from France, so he has never been to France. That would be a great thing for him to, see different cultures, different parts of the world. We would like to travel. We would like to, buy a house and, just living our life. He would like probably to have a complete career as well. I would like to, also work more, being more active in my activity. And right now, his health is not enabling us to do that. But yeah, I would say travel and being able to get a mortgage for a house.
Mm-hmm. And where are you from in France? And is your family still there?
Yes. So my family is still there. I just come back from my brother's wedding, my older brother's wedding in May. And we are from the region of Versaille, which is like 30 minutes west of Paris. So it's really easy, even living in a big city like Los Angeles, I have direct flights to see my family. So it's not as bad. And it's really important for me to go and visit my family, to resource myself, to be a better person when I come back, to be energized when I come back, to work and take care of Travis. It's really important. I really need that time with my family, and I try to visit them quite often. And I'm really fortunate that, Travis allows me to do that I can, take a break, a few days, a few times a year. And it's really resourceful, having a niece and nephew. It gives you a break from all the heavy stuff waiting for you at home.
Mm-hmm. How does your career take you away? You're an entertainment lawyer. So is that also a bit of an escape for you as well?
It is. I really enjoy what I'm doing. And I think I have also the luxury of working from home. I have the luxury of having a career that I enjoy, meeting different people, working on, different projects, different aspects of contract law, managing talents. It's really a fulfilling career in that way. But again, I would hope to do more to that aspect. But right now, I cannot do more. I have to work to make a living, and also have to take time to enjoy my time with Travis and take care of him.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you sharing your life with everybody and all the honest things that you've shared. I don't know if you can, what would Travis maybe want to say about, his situation and his ability to keep going forward despite all that he physically and emotionally has to deal with?
Well, I think Travis, I don't know how to say that. Travis is always an upbeat person, and he always wants people to keep fighting despite their illness. And I believe his positive view of the future, the promise that things will get better despite things hitting you, is really what drives him. And I think that he would say that no matter what you're going through, you have the chance to be alive, and it's a 1 in a gazillion chance that you have to be alive. So you have to fight for it. And despite everything the life throws at you, it may make you a better person, a person that is more caring, a more caring person, a person that can put themselves into somebody else's shoes. And a more human person, knowing that we need each other's just for anything. Like, we're social animals. We need each other. And thinking that you're better than somebody else is not the way to go.
Well, thank you again, Clement, for sharing your love story and for letting us know how you're both doing. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you very much.
The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen.
It's not complicated.
Who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated, but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org. This podcast was sponsored by Viatris, Genentech, and Vertex. It was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.